like, first of all, their car pull out, and it was we couldn't. There wasn't windows on that side, so we'd had to like gone outside. See the cut. All right, so are we expecting the cop to come in? And we're like, all right, here's situation. Like 30 seconds later, see them pull. Like they didn't even come in. It's like, yeah. Oh, and of course, Monday morning we got the unemployment request, which was so. And oh yeah, but now they're wanting, all this. But yeah, I made the joke. I'm like, wow, back-to-back marches. I technically had the police called on me for bullshit reasons. Oh, it was one like, and honestly, like how he. Oh, and the guy, he was, he was just pretty motivated, but he's gone through. He's some real shit. And who I don't know his full comment name, but his girlfriend's doing all the talking. Our GM, he's there like. I don't know. The Northbound football fish fries tomorrow night. Football fish fries tomorrow night. I'll put 20 on black. Called the police on what you were saying. They would come. Yeah. It's like, and yeah, that happened. That was Friday. Thing is, oh yeah, that was one of the more interesting. They okay. So the point. So the yeah, and they refused to. So we and actually we installed these. It's out in Louisville and Indianapolis. There's places. It's literally a company called Laundry and Tan. It's laundromats and tanning salons. Well, some of them have playgrounds. So we build them, and then we have the service and cleaning contract. The guy had no clue with
Farmer,
Here.
Henning,
Here.
Gorman,
Here.
Merkel,
Here.
Kelly,
Here.
Bachman,
Here.
and Stevens.
I move to excuse Mayor Stevens.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to excuse Mike because he's not here this evening. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Mike is excused for this evening's meeting. Mike is our mayor, for those of you who don't know, so I'm sitting in for Mike tonight, so if things don't go so smooth, excuse me. I apologize in advance. His wife's having surgery, so we'll blame her. She won't be. Okay, is Ellen first?
So Ellen is going to kind of walk through where the property is, what the current zoning is, and what the design standards are there. And then the developer and the engineer, can talk about what they plan to do with the plot.
Good evening, everyone. So this is where the property is situated north. I think it's on. Maybe I'm just not close enough. North is to the left of this map, and so pointing up on this map would be the eastern direction. The road there on the right is Westbrook, and the road there at the bottom is Taywood. And so this property is roughly 30 acres there, kind of nestled between. And again, just an overhead of the property. And then this was an aerial in 2022, and then a little bit closer in 2022. RSD development standards talk about setbacks, design standards, where you can put accessory buildings. And then the development typologies are mostly single-family unit dwellings. And then the Trotwood-Madison City School District boundary, this is that map. This area is the very northern point of that boundary map. And then what we've received from the developer is kind of this preliminary plan. It's 103 single-family units. We can kind of see how they're arranged here, with, again, the north being to the left side of the map. And then here's just kind of a zoomed-in version of all of those.
So if, Ben, did you want to get up and talk about the?
Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Amanda and Ellen have been very helpful in this process, so we appreciate you guys as well. I'm with American Structure Point Civil Engineering team on this one. We have Jason, Lou, and Todd with us this evening as well. So we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have, but yeah, appreciate the time tonight. So like Ellen was saying, we have proposed here 103 lots. We are showing them at 52 feet wide with 6-yard side setbacks. I think that's the major deviation from the RSD. In the southeast corner, can I point on this thing? I mean, is there like a, can I circle? Yeah, there is. Yeah, top right button. Oh, there we go. Try the one behind you. There we go. Basin here, and that's already been sized for the property. And then we have, we're proposing the, it's kind of hard to see here, but this right here is a multi-use path. Sorry, you have to speak up a little bit. Sorry. So Westbrook Road here, and we're showing a multi-use path along the north side of Westbrook with a, I think it's a 25-foot wide dedication of right-of-way. And like I was saying, we're showing a basin here that's already been sized for the proposed development. And then back to the overview here. We have a proposed open space park amenity area here. And I guess some ideas that we've had so far are, it can be playground, it can be, it's a fairly sizable area, so we could have, plantings with a winding path, and, we've even thrown out things like a pickleball court or something to that effect. So we also have, we're showing this tying into 3 points here. So there's a stubbed connection here to the existing single-family development, and another one here to the east. And then we're also showing a connection out here to Taywood as well. I think maybe the last thing is we have done a traffic study for this, and that has been reviewed and accepted by the city staff and your consultant. So showing no improvements are warranted from this development. So just the access points that we're showing here. So happy to answer any questions that you have. There's only one entrance to the plat? Three. Yep. Here, and here.
That is Ponderosa, that stub is Ponderosa. Tim was, where it was cut in half, basically it's just a dead end, and they're just opening that up to that development. And then Oren's up here.
It's a sanitary line that's running through the middle, correct?
Yep, thanks for pointing that out. So there's an existing sanitary that bisects the site here. It does have an easement on it, and so you can see we've kind of carved out some space, and we're able to fit the easement in between a couple of the lots here. So we're mindful of that, and the development would tie into that sewer.
How's this going to be, sold? Is it going to be sold before built, or is it going to be pre-built and then sold?
Keep it down. We're gonna build a 4 or 5 different
I'm
houses.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Okay. We're gonna build a 4. Okay. We're gonna build a 4 or 5 different style of the house, but it will be pretty consistent characteristic. And from there, we have on site a model home, so people can start choose the model.
Are you the developer or the builder?
We're gonna do both.
Who are you?
Jason Liu.
Okay, and
Yeah.
who do you represent? I mean, what company are you
And
with?
Shanghai Enterprises, and so Amanda wants me a brief introduction. And I came here 1989, get a scholarship from Ohio State for PhD, material science and engineering. And after I get a master's degree, I decided open a restaurant. So I opened a fast restaurant in Worthington, Ohio. And my wife and I worked 7 days a week, about 10 years nonstop. And then we bought a building in Dublin, opened the J. Liu restaurant, was named after my name, Jason, initial J, last name Liu. And then from there, actually, we took off. We had a very good business and very involved with the community. Every year we supported a Dublin Irish Festival, take care of the Emerald Club. Every year, Emerald Club we sponsor for 400 to 500 guests, one night dinner. So I was honored to be selected to be what's it called, honored chairman for Irish Festival year 2022. That was a pretty big like a recognition from the city of Dublin. And so I, after opened the restaurant, opened a few, then I started development. One big development is on Lane Avenue. It took me like 10 years assembled, like almost 5-acre land, by every house on the Lane Avenue. Like it take almost 10 years to assemble, like almost 5-acre, and work with the Crawford Hoying group. We finished it like 2022. It's called the Westmount on at the land. So it was very successful. So also I have also other projects like own the property on the Kent, like it's called Acorn Alley, like a city block of the like a retail office, like mixed use buildings. So in Florida, I have some investment. So I'm excited to come to this like Clayton, try to get a landmark for the city of Clayton. Thank you.
I mean, this land's been for sale for quite some time, and it was sold once and then it went back on the market, and there must be a reason for that. And one of the things I heard as a rumor was the underlying bedrock and other things that are present, which make some development potentially problematic. Have you done engineering studies or whatever to know what's there, what you're up against in terms of development, so you know going in what you're up against?
Yeah, we've done a geotechnical investigation. There's been about 20 borings that have been taken out here. So we've looked at the soils, and I think one of the reasons it's probably been undeveloped is because of the topography out here. There's about 20 to 30 feet of fall across the site, so I think that's been a challenge.
If there's that much of a drop between the high and low points, are you going to grade it out so there's not as much fluctuation or height variation?
Yeah, and that was a primary motivation also for us to have this open space here. We're able to create that grade difference there. And then I think there's a thought to have some of these homes have a walkout basement. So we're able to break grade with that as well.
So you're going to be able to put basements in some of these homes?
Mm-hmm.
I think the major like obstacle is you are in the Clayton, this area. When you build like a same square footage house, for example, like if you say 2,000 square foot, if in Columbus you can sell for 400 to 450,000, but here, especially in the Trotwood, the price kind of maybe around 300,000 to 350 maximum. So if the developer come to town, you don't, because the cost you build the house here and the Columbus is almost same, like physical cost is the same, and so that's the one reason. Like nobody want to come here build houses.
Yeah, another question I've got, and it centers on, some of the neighbors that live over on Janus have had problems in the past years where there's been a lot of surface runoff of water, basically flooding through their backyards. And we've gotten pictures of events that have happened. Now, these might have been the proverbial 100-year flood type thing, but still, I personally have experienced situations where I've got water running through my backyard from another property, but, you know, doing a development where you're going to reduce the amount of water being able to be absorbed, that it's gonna be doing more surface runoff. You know, you show your retention pond, or detention or retention pond there in the southeast corner. Is that where the water's going to flow? Have you just set it up so the water's gonna flow that direction, and then once it gets there, how's it gonna get out in terms of where's your discharge point?
Yeah, yep. So, and you're talking about this area right here, right? And that's the,
Janice.
right. So this is the high side of the site, and it's all flowing this way. So we do have, this arrow with the circles is a swale. So we've actually already looked at the fact that there is just so much water rushing down that hill. And we do have designed here a ditch and storm sewer in those rear yards to pick up that drainage, so that hopefully we're improving the flooding for these backyards at the same time. And then, yes, everything on this site will drain to the basin, and then from there we'll be outletting there's a ditch. It's a shallow ditch, but there's a roadside ditch there that we would be outletting to.
But would that, from a civil engineering aspect, doing a stormwater plan to know that you have the water capacity for those ditch systems to be discharged and not cause a problem downstream
Right.
for those property owners?
Yes.
Because that's a problem we've seen in other locations within the city where a stormwater plan may exist and the system may collect water, but it seems to be inundating downstream neighbors with overabundance of water because maybe the system wasn't fully designed to take in everything that they planned for. So water coming into your plot, per se, from the properties that are to your west, potentially flowing down to your property, being able to accommodate all that water potentially flowing off your property and not causing harm to others downstream. That's all been considered.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, the industry standard is to design for the 100-year storm event. And that is what this ditch will need to be sized for, to be able to handle that event.
So you looked beside, so in back of Janice, Volk Drive, there is a swale. And then it goes to Willow Creek. So all that is a swale, and that there's a run with water that leads through the park and all through back of that area. Does that, from the swale and then from the fall off, so you said you're gonna grade all that to prevent water from running? Is that what you originally said?
Yeah, the water is flowing this way. We'll have storm sewer in this area that will then cross under this road, and then this will be a ditch section mostly to prevent the water that's flowing this way from getting into these yards. So we're cutting it off and redirecting it to our basin.
Growing the green space, because, a lot of the recent developments that we've seen, it's probably one of the largest, single kind of just open green spaces actually for, that would be for public use on there. What was kind of the decision for that, for that layout? Because, you could have probably put another 10 dozen homes, in that and cut it in half, and it probably still would have been, still nice sized green space. What was kind of the decision of that, larger one right in the middle?
Yeah, it was kind of just the way the site ended up laying out with those three connections tying into those stubbed roads. It just kind of, and it's a rectangular site, so it just kind of worked out that way. And we needed to meet open space requirements, so it just seemed like a good area to meet that requirement, and it ended up being, a little bit bigger than what we needed, but I think it creates a really nice amenity.
This might be a sore point for persons when the lot sizes you said are 52 foot And I know some of those corner lots, you have to adapt it to fit the corner, and it's not 52, it's less than. For single-family residence development, I mean, the zoning has 60 foot as being the width. I mean, why not having these lots at 60 foot based on single-family development?
Said why?
Yeah, why not the 60 foot versus what you have at 52?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was mostly what Jason had referred to with just the price point that we're shooting for out here for the homes. The 52-foot wide lots allow us to create more lots. And then it was also in part due to just the fact that there's this easement running through, and it kind of created a weird gap with how that easement runs through the site. So it made it more efficient to be able to have narrower lots. We were able to fit more in there.
Yeah, it might be a hard sell to get this passed if the lots are less than 60 foot. And, that's been a point for discussion in the past with other things that have come before the planning board and the council for consideration. Is your decision to have 103 houses, like this is the break point, anything less than that, we can't do this? I'm not trying to put you on the spot or saying you have to have 103 houses, but, are your numbers that you're looking at as far as the number of properties that you're putting, homes you're putting in is that's a critical point that you're at in terms of making this possible?
And when we initially laid this out, I think it was 88 lots is what we were able to yield. So it's a difference of 15 lots. I think those are, because if we have any of the 60-foot lots as less than 60 foot, I imagine we would still be going for this same rezoning. So it's kind of like one or the other. I don't think there's really somewhere in between, unfortunately.
It's just when you look at the houses that are on Janus and you look at the houses that you're proposing to put in on the lot sizes, there's a marked size difference that is very noticeable. And like I said, it's going to be a hard point for persons to sit down and easily accept. And, I just have a problem right now, it's looking at 52-foot wide lots, based on past conversations and concerns that people have had.
Actually, the size will be very compatible to the neighbor. It's about like 2,000 to 2,200 square foot. Would be very modern, very nice look. Yeah, I think we showed some picture to the yeah.
So I think it should be noted, just for a point of reference, that the homes along Janus and those frontages are considerably larger than what's required for RSD. I think they're, 80 to 110 or 120 foot wide, and RSD only requires 60, just as a point of reference.
Amanda, can we put on additional constraints, or in terms of if we thought as a council we should have 80-foot width lots, can we do that?
So what they're requesting right now, all right, first let me make it perfectly clear. They have not submitted anything to Planning Commission. So they have come before council just to get feedback from council. What we're talking about right now is a potential plan development, so a PDD. And under a PDD, council basically sets, or Planning Commission would set the standards, and then council would either accept those or amend those. So if you would want to do that and say they had to be 80-foot wide lots, you could, just the same as you could say, okay, well, we'll accept 52-foot wide lots rather than 60.
Okay, so they are you do want to do a rezone to PDD. Is that what you're requesting? Okay, I didn't know we were doing that.
Yes, so the reason they're requesting a PDD, so when they first came to us and they started talking about having the smaller lots, and all of the lots were going to be smaller, rather than having 103 variances for lots, 103 different variances, it's easier to just do a planned development. And that way, there's the give and take between the city and the developer to get amenities that the city is looking for, like the multi-use path along Westbrook Road and the more green space, and then they would also be able to accomplish their goals in completing the development.
If I need to, I just need to follow up with you later, but I am still curious about that question with RSD, that to meet those requirements, that if they meet them, we can't impose any kind of greater restriction on RSD. I apologize for pivoting off of what we're looking at, but
No, it's a good question. So if they were to come in and build straight RSD and just do straight RSD zoning, it would be a major subdivision and that would be it. There would be no additional restrictions unless they would acquiesce to additional restrictions, but the council would not impose anything additional.
Do you plan to advertise it as Madison Township, or excuse me, Trotwood Schools? Showing my age again, but
Yes.
I know some people moved to Janice Place and didn't realize they were in Trotwood Schools. They thought they were in Northmont, but
In looking at the model drawings that you provided for information, are any of those 4 or 5 designs single-story? You know, so if persons come in, they have an option essentially for aging in place, that they don't have to worry about having a 2-story home to deal with as they get older.
Yeah, we have some ranch.
I think the one in the upper right, the Country Craftsman, is a single story.
Country Charm.
Yeah, I saw that picture. I was just, you know, because it had 2nd-story windows, just wanted to make certain that was not a wrong picture, that actually was 1 story.
what did you say the front setback line was?
20. So I think we meet the RSD with the front setback, I believe. I think it's also 20.
It's
For
20,
RSD.
25. The
Oh,
front
for
setback
RSD.
from,
Okay,
it's 25.
so we're 5 feet less than RSD we're proposing 20.
then side setback is 6 feet each side?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd see 12 feet between each house.
Any other questions, council? We thank you, gentlemen. Do you have any questions of us?
We want you guys support.
I'll just say, I know you're trying to meet a price point. I would like to see fewer units, and I'd love to see a greater, at least the 60-foot width front.
The only issue is when you have 60 feet, you cannot build it like, let's say, 2,600 square foot. You cannot sell for $500,000 here. That's, that's like a reality. That's a waste square, yeah.
I'm just looking at the adjoining neighborhood and trying to create more of a like atmosphere.
I think the neighborhood we created, they will enjoy. We're gonna have very good amenities, yeah, for kids playground, pickleball court. We already thought about it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you asked for my input, so I gave it to you.
Okay, before you go, have you had any contact or have you had any interaction with the neighbors on Janus?
My realtor had some interaction, but it's kind of odd for somebody to just approach. It's awkward to talk to somebody, say, "Oh, we have this plan." It's kind of, I think, maybe a little bit more formal. If a neighbor want to meet here or ask questions, that would be more
Would it be
appropriate,
appropriate or
yeah.
proper for, a neighborhood session for these guys to produce or introduce their idea for the people on Janus, so they have an idea of what's coming, potentially?
So they could, that is not part of our process. We've had developers who have done open houses on their own before. The developer for the Sweet Potato and Main project did that. They held an open house for the public. If that is something that you would want to do before you submit to Planning Commission to get feedback from that neighborhood, you could definitely talk to Elaine, who's sitting right over here, about potentially using Meadowbrook at Clayton, which is the golf course that we have here with an event center, and use that space to introduce this to the public. You could send notices to the neighbors.
Just, from the standpoint of getting some informational pushback and other concerns that people might have that you might be able to address, that might make some of the selling points that you have and want to put in possibly more understanding, and you may get some pushback that basically gives you an idea as far as what people are willing to accept outside of this council. Because when you go to the planning board, you're gonna have people showing up, you're gonna have a lot of comments. So,
Every time, yeah. We're gonna have a videotape. Everybody who say what are they saying, so we can digest.
Any other questions, council? We thank you for coming out tonight.
We can maybe ask it.
Does the other gentleman have anything to say? You have to come up here to say it, please, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Ernsberger. I'm with the law firm of Bond Laboon. I represent the property owner. I've been working with him for a number of years now on other projects throughout the Central Ohio area. Jason failed to mention a couple other housing projects that have been very successful in the Central Ohio area that we've helped work on. One thing that we will be discussing, and I've spoken with Amanda last summer, nice to meet you in person, the concept of potentially doing a TIF or some public financing for on-site improvements. I don't want to go into the details now. It'd certainly be something we discuss with staff, but that will be a component of the project in order to make it economically feasible for this to take place. We're optimistic that given the position of the land right now, that the neighborhood will see this project as a positive for both an aesthetic and for some of the very issues that Mr. Merkel discussed earlier with respect to the flooding and those type of things. We think that this project can do a lot to mitigate the problems that may exist because of the terrain in the area. Excuse me. Going back a little bit to the issue of the 103 lots versus the 88 lots, as Mr. Liu indicated a little bit earlier, a big component of this is the ability to make this function from an economic standpoint. With 88 lots, it makes it a little bit more difficult from a profitability standpoint, as with any developer. Even though we all want to do what's good for the community, if it's not profitable, it makes it difficult to do anything at all. So the tipping point in that 88 versus 103 is really what gets us to the point of why we have to ask for that 52-foot width as far as that goes. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have of me at this point. All right, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Anybody else have a question? Okay. Then we'll take a motion to close the workshop.
so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We thank you, gentlemen, for coming this evening, and I'm sure we'll see you back here again one day, huh? Okay. Is our next speaker here? I know we have to start the meeting first, but
He said he'll be here about 7:15.
okay.